Sir, നമുക്ക് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്താലോ?
Ready, ഞാൻ ready.
ഷീബ ടീച്ചർ.
Yes, നമുക്ക് start ചെയ്യാം.
A warm good morning to one and all. So it is indeed a proud moment and a long cherished dream of Government Engineering College Thrissur to conduct an event with Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy sir, a renowned personality of international fame. And of course, Neerja madam, she is having vast experience in this field. So Industry Institute Interaction Cell of Government Engineering College Thrissur, in association with IEDC and TEQIP, is excited and honored to host this mentoring session of current relevance. So I request all the participants to exploit the maximum out of this session and also raise your queries during the interactive session. So let me invite our beloved principal, Dr. Sheba Madam, for the opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Respected chief guest of today's program, Muralee Thummarukudy sir, Neeraja Janagi madam, faculty and students. As we all know, we are witnessing a period of global pandemic which we or our elder generation have never experienced. A great concern among the graduates is the job seeking during this economic slowdown. Since the career prospects look different from what they have imagined. Another concern is finding the opportunity for overseas studies. If we see the placement statistics of our college in the last year, actually we can say that our college placement is not much affected by the pandemic situation, because all these issues started in by March 20 onwards, complete lockdown, etc. But only 2 companies have explained that the main recruiters of our campus are the companies with the medium pay package. But this may not be the situation in this year. So I feel that the topic of today's discussion is very relevant in the present scenario. And it is a great pleasure to welcome Muralee sir and Neeraja madam to our institution. Even though Muralee sir is giving first time talk to our students, we had listened and several talks and articles several times and followed your advices. So I hope that this talk also will be very useful to the students already graduated in 2020 and those graduating in 2021. So I wish all success and I hope that our students will be benefited. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Now I'd like to invite our chief speaker, keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Prasida. Thank you, Dr. Sheba, other faculty members, students, and my fellow speaker, Ms. Neerja Janagi. It is indeed a pleasure for me to talk to close to 300 students and teachers of Thrissur Engineering College. As you know, we are going through an unprecedented time. Your principal has already mentioned about it. Now, I don't really need to tell you that we are all going through, because it's affecting our life every day, every night, every weekend. Life, as we know now, has never been experienced by anybody in our generation, our previous generation, or the generation before that. In fact, never in human history we have faced a challenge like this. Of course, humanity has faced the plague. Of course, humanity has faced the Spanish flu. Of course, it killed a lot more people than corona is likely to kill in its period. But in terms of the geographical spread, as well as the speed with which it came into our life, is totally unprecedented. Corona started as a local event in China almost a year back, December 2019. End of January, it came to Thrissur. And then by March, it came to other parts of Kerala. And we know where we are now. But globally, between December to April, all the 200 countries and territories in the world were completely affected. More than 100 countries went into complete lockdown. Almost all countries except Sweden went into partial lockdown. It has never happened, even during the First World War, even during the Second World War, when millions of people are fighting on the ground, when hundreds of thousands were dying, other parts of the world were still open for business, not during Corona. So this was totally global. This is the first situation which we have to remember. The second point to remember is that it was not just a health incident. Of course, it is a global pandemic. Of course, it's primarily a health issue. But it migrated into an economic issue first. As I said, countries went into lockdown. Economies started shrinking. In some countries up to 25%. I think in India it was 23%. Most developed countries it was about 10%. That was the steepest loss after 1930, the Great Depression. So this was totally phenomenal in its scale. And when economy is impacted like that, naturally it then migrate to employment segment. The International Labour Organization estimate that there are close to 3.2 billion people in active employment at any given time. So we have a global population of over 7 billion people. Around half of that are people who are actively employed. And 50% of those employment were affected one way or the other. People lost their job, they had to move away from their workplace. People started working from home, people have to work part-time. And the International Labour Organization also estimated that 10% of those jobs actually vanished. So out of 3.2, 320 million jobs just vanished in the last 6 months. So that's a huge, massive impact. So, you can say an equivalent of 10% unemployment across the world. Education, as you know, was also impacted in a very phenomenal way. UNESCO, which is tracking global education, estimate that there are about 1.7 billion, 170 crore students around the world, from preschool all the way to the university. And the education of each and every one of them was impacted across the world. It didn't matter whether they're in Europe, in America, in Mongolia, in Africa, it is affected globally. And Europe reopened after some time. Schools reopened, colleges reopened. Other parts of the world did not. In India also some states at least partially reopened, but Kerala had remained closed. But globally, education has been disrupted completely. And all of you are in a way affected by it, the way the education was disrupted. And education then went online and so on and so forth. So it is in this context that I am speaking to you of an unprecedented change, a change which your generation have not seen, my generation has not seen, my forefathers' generation has not seen. How do we navigate during this period where we actually have no chart on our hand because nobody has experience of navigating these waters. So it is in this context that I would actually speak to you. So first of all, let's start with the good news. After a long period of uncertainty, we seem to be coming to an end of this crisis. 2 months back, we could not have predicted when will situation get better, because we were all in the rising wave of corona across the world, including in Kerala. But now we know Kerala had reached its peak somewhere around mid-October and is coming down. Luckily, we do not have the type of temperature variation which Europe has, which is creating a second wave in Europe. So hopefully we will, if we manage this Panchayat election very well, I think we will manage without a second wave of infection. And so far we have managed to contain the incidence below our hospital capacity, which meant that our fatality rate was less than 0.3%. You should remember that in March last year, the global fatality rate was 3%. In Kerala, it's less than 0.3, which means 1/10. The number of people who could have died in Kerala is 10 times what we have now. So therefore, we have by and large managed well. There is good news about vaccine coming up. All countries are gearing up, and starting next year, vaccination would happen. And so hopefully, it is now estimated that by the time next year around this time, life should be getting back to normal. And a lot of things will get back to normal much before that. International travel will resume. Probably there will be a precondition that people are vaccinated and so on and so forth. But so by next summer, things should be much better. So the next academic year, students should be able to go to school and things should start to work. Now, if there is one good thing about this incident, is that, of course, it is a massive global pandemic. It destroyed the economy significantly. It upset jobs. It destroyed jobs. It upset education. But one thing it did not do is to cause physical damage of any kind. Let's say if we have a conflict or a disaster, in a very short time, massive infrastructure damage happens. Airports are destroyed, bridges are destroyed, coastlines are destroyed, buildings are destroyed. None of that happened during Corona, because Corona is a virus, we don't even see it. If someone was sitting in the International Space Station looking down on Earth, there is nothing changing on the ground. So when I travel via Dubai or Paris, the airport is completely empty. Paris airport, which handles about 250,000 passengers per day. I was passing the other day, and probably there are, 2,000 passengers there. So it has gone down to 1/100 of its capacity and potential. All the aircrafts are lying there. All the Air France aircrafts are lying there. And minimal other aircrafts are coming in. But none of them are damaged. It is all there. All the productive capacity of everything, all the aircraft, all the hotels, all the beaches, all the facilities, they are all still remaining intact. Which means that the economic recovery can also be as rapid as the disruption. So this is the first good news from an employment point of view. The economy will come back, and come back much faster than what we think it will come back. And certainly it will benefit the students as well as other people, those who lost jobs as well as those who are seeking jobs now. But there are bigger forces at play, and this is really what I want to tell you today. I had decided already in last year, November 2019, that in 2020, every lecture which I will give will be about artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution. Because I think that's the biggest show in town. And I thought at that point of time, we were not paying enough attention in India and in Kerala in particular to those changes which are happening around the world at a completely massive scale and pace, which we were not giving attention to. November last year, we had a meeting in Geneva about artificial intelligence and the future of employment. And we had a very young minister coming from Dubai attend that meeting. And the minister was 29 years old. And he was a minister for 2 years. So which meant that he was a minister when he was 27. And he was the minister for artificial intelligence. Imagine. There's a ministry for artificial intelligence in Dubai already now 3 years back. It's not just a ministry. They had assumed that the whole life in UAE is going to change in the coming years because of artificial intelligence. And therefore, every department has to change with it. So they looked at 92 government departments in UAE and they identified a champion for artificial intelligence in each of those ministries. And then they agreed on a course with Oxford University, AI in governance. So there's a health person, so AI in health. There's a transport person, AI in transport. There's an aviation person, AI in aviation, AI in employment, AI in education. And they had already conducted a 1-year program and there are more people being trained. So that was the type of preparation which other countries were doing while we were not talking about it. And even 2017, when Dubai started, itself was a little bit late because already in 2013, we had the Oxford Martin School predicting that the fourth industrial revolution, in which AI is one of the prime movers, is going to destroy 46% of the employment as we know it. 46% of the employment categories as we know it. So it's not even 46% of the jobs. So let's say if you take an accountant job, the accountant job is one category. A driver job, another category. The job of a neurosurgeon, a third category. But the number of people in each of these categories are vastly different. You probably have 10 million drivers, 100,000 neurosurgeons. So if you have one category of neurosurgeons being eliminated by AI, that has much less number impact compared to the number of drivers which will be displaced. So Oxford Martin School study said in 2013 by 2030, that just 17 years after the report came out, 46% of all employment category as we know it now would vanish. And people actually did not take notice. They thought it was some sort of an academic study. Academics keep saying these type of things. But some countries did. And that's why we had countries like UAE taking up this seriously. But not many other countries did. And now, suddenly, COVID-19 is giving us a preview of how fast things can happen. And 2030 is 10 years away. And now you think 10 years is still a little bit long time. But 10 years is so close to you. Those of you who want to know how far 2030 is, have to just remember how close 2010 was to you now. Standing now, can you remember what happened in 2010? And all of you would be remembering 2010 as if it was yesterday. It is that fast that 2030 is going to come to you. So the first thing I am going to ask to you today, all the teachers as well as students, is to go and look for this Oxford Martin School study. It's called The Future of Employment. Neerja will try to give the link if there's a chat form here. We are actually not used to this particular platform. Yeah, there's a chat. So Neerja will put the link there, and I would like you to put that. And if there's somebody in this audience who have actually read this Oxford Martin School, I would actually like you to type in the chat form that you have read this report, so that I know people are watching. If you are not read, you could also say I have not read, but Neerja will put the link and you can read that. In 2019, the International Labour Organization came with a report. It's called the AI and the Future of Jobs. And it said that there will be three kind of impact on the job scenario due to AI and the fourth industrial revolution. Number one, as Oxford Martin School predicted, millions of jobs would vanish. But number two, a lot of new jobs would be created as well. So it won't be completely a job destroying thing. It will also be a job creating thing. As it happened in the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, and the third industrial revolution, jobs will go, but a lot of new jobs will come. And historically, in every other industrial revolution, more jobs were created, better jobs were created due to the industrial revolution. And that's why people are a bit lethargic. We think that just like first industrial revolution, we are worried a bit too much. And actually, there will be more new jobs will come. But this is not supported by facts. It is true that a lot more new jobs will come, but it won't be more than the number of jobs destroyed, and it won't be appropriate for the people whose jobs are being destroyed. So there are two issues. So even if there are new jobs coming, they're not appropriate for the people who will be losing their jobs. So if you have a million people losing their jobs because as driver, because of autonomous cars, they cannot all become AI specialists tomorrow or even 1 month or even 1 year of retraining, because the degree of skill gap is too high. If it is a small gap, one could have upskilled it. But if it's too high, that's not possible. So that's what International Labour Organization said. Jobs will be destroyed, jobs will be created. But now there's a third element. It said that every job which you know, every job category which you know would be impacted by the fourth industrial revolution, by artificial intelligence or robotics. Every job, be that of a teacher, be that of a doctor, be that of an engineer, an architect, an accountant, every job which is remaining would be impacted. So jobs will be three, jobs will vanish, so don't worry about it. Jobs which will be created, you have to prepare for it, and jobs which will be modified so that each of us has to be prepared to transform and transform in a very short time. And this is exactly what COVID showed us, that how fast transformation can happen, how fast jobs can vanish, and how fast we will have to get used to new ways of working, new ways of collaborating, new ways of studying. And we will not have the benefit of time like we had in the previous industrial revolution. It's not only the future of jobs will change, the future of work life itself will change. Internationally, people are stopping the term career because the idea of a career is that you do education, you acquire a skill or a qualification or a professional qualification, then you get into that job, then you progressively move up in that career. You become a chemical engineer and you slowly become an assistant executive engineer, an executive engineer, a plant manager, a general manager, managing director, but all in the chemical engineering domain. Or a doctor, going from a consultant all the way to the chief medical officer. This is what a career looks like. But in the new world, career is not going to be a continuous progression in your chosen profession. You will have to drop out of your chosen profession because the profession has changed. That type of job doesn't exist anymore. You would have read that one of the most prestigious jobs, that of a pilot, now is almost worthless in many parts of the world because planes are not taking off. In Switzerland, the local railway system is offering to retrain the pilots as trained pilots. And I even read that in Australia, they are even retrained as bus drivers. That's the type of work life we are going to have. That you are not going to continue in one profession all through your life, lifetime. Other changes you already know, that people are going to work from wherever they are. You know, I could work as well in Perumbavoor, or in Mumbai, or in Delhi, or in Bangkok, or in Geneva, or in New York. I could be sitting in my home, office, beach, wherever, but still be functional. So that type of changes you have already seen. So there will be destruction of careers on one side. There will be stoppage of your career midway and needing you to shift to other domains. And then there will be opportunity to be globally mobile and work from wherever. So it's going to be an extremely exciting time. So the second point I want you to remember is that COVID is not the biggest challenge which you are going to face. COVID, in my mind, is almost past. And now it's only a question of waiting it out the time. But the fourth industrial revolution, which has already started, maybe in the last 10 years, is going to dominate your life, your career, your jobs. And that is going to be the biggest thing you should worry about. If you have not already done so, I encourage you, all of you, to start to read about the fourth industrial revolution. The best book I would suggest is about the fourth industrial revolution. It is called The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Professor Klaus Schwab. He is the chairperson of the World Economic Forum in Davos, which is the most prestigious forum think tank on economic activities. So those of you it's not those of you are interested. I'm sure all of you are interested in your career and your future. I encourage all of you to read this book. It's available free on the internet, but it's a must read for people interested in careers. So these are all, I wouldn't say depressing news, but these are challenging news for a generation who is worried about getting a job now or in 6 months. But there is good news. The good news is that every previous industrial revolution was powered by the power of engineering, the power of technology. And the fourth industrial revolution will be no different. That the fourth industrial revolution will be completely powered by engineers, regardless of whether it's robotics, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, high-speed internet of things. Take any of this domain, the prime movers of this would be engineers. This has many reasons. First of all, we span the space between science and technology. We understand science, we understand technology. We understand the theory, we understand the applications. We study as much mathematics to be fit enough to be a data scientist, if we choose to, compared to, let's say, somebody who is also doing any other branch. So compared to other science branches such as physics or chemistry, we do a lot more mathematics. We do almost as much mathematics as people who do a BSc mathematics. So we can very easily span this new revolution if we choose to. And I would come to whether we will have to choose some of those options. So the engineers would lead the fourth industrial revolution. So the opportunity for engineers is going to grow phenomenally and dramatically around the world. And in case I forget, I just want to say that I'm always very happy to see a lot more women in engineering colleges in Kerala, and this is very unusual. If you take the Western world, if you even take the Nordic countries, which are sort of the best achievement in terms of gender parity, the number of women who actually go into science, technology, and engineering is actually much lower. But in Kerala, we actually have a lot more girls coming into engineering, which is an extremely good thing. It's just that they have to carry through that into the career as well, including globally, because there is a lot of demand and there is even a preference for women to be in engineering and management in the Western world. So the point I was making is that engineers should not be worried about fourth industrial revolution. Engineers should take it as a huge opportunity and then move it forward. Now, how do we do? And this is what I would speak now. The first step you have to do is to understand how your selected profession would be affected in the fourth industrial revolution, because every profession will be affected for sure. There's no doubt about it. But how each of the professions will be affected would be different. A year and a half before, I was giving a lecture in Abu Dhabi. And somebody in the audience asked me, "Sir, do you expect the job of a judge to be impacted by artificial intelligence? Because a judge needs judgment. It needs some sort of consideration, needs some type of empathy. Do you think that would be replaced by some sort of a artificial intelligence, some sort of a machine?" I had not thought about that question. I knew the neurosurgeon's job will be replaced. I knew the driver's job will be replaced. I knew the pilot's job will be replaced. But I did not think that the job of a judge would be replaced. I said, I don't know. I not thought about it. But now that I think it's very unlikely that the judge's job will be replaced. But I went back to Abu Dhabi 6 months later. But between that, I had read that in a small country called Estonia, they had decided that the primary handling of cases which is related to economic offenses would be handled by artificial intelligence. The judge will be an artificial intelligence. So both parties will file their case into this AI court, and the AI court will make the first judgment. And this way, cases will be decided in extremely short time. And I can imagine this coming to India. India has millions and millions of cases pending. So much cases pending that even if our cases are handled at the current rate, it would probably take a century for the cases or backlog to be finished. So I can imagine one day there will be AI judges in Kerala as well, in India as well, many. So the point I'm making is that every profession will be impacted, and the first job on you is to understand how your profession would be affected. You be a mechanical engineer, a chemical engineer, a civil engineer, an architect, computer science, instrumentation engineer, biomedical, doesn't matter. Regardless of your profession, it will be impacted. So one thing I'm going to request you today is to go home, put a Google alert on artificial intelligence and your profession, let's say mechanical engineering. Fourth industrial revolution and your profession. This is what I have done. So that every morning I get an alert from articles coming in the Forbes, Financial Times, The Economist, wherever, World Economic Forum, which tells you how your profession will be affected. And you will be amazed as to the amount of thinking which is ongoing in this topic. Because everyone around the world is thinking of this topic. New information is coming, and it is on you to remember, learn, and understand how your profession will be affected by this. So that's the first step. Number two, assuming that the fourth industrial revolution is going to change your career, your chosen profession, what skills would be needed to ride that wave? Are you getting those skills in your college? If not, where can you get it? Do you need to go and study online to get it? Can you do a certification to get it? What way can you get that additional skill to give you an edge over your peers around the world in, say, mechanical engineering, as mechanical engineering enter into the fourth industrial revolution? The third thing you have to do is that this new world of fourth industrial revolution, but also that of the internet and social media platforms which it is giving you, and the whole idea of remote working is giving a tremendous opportunities of employment. What opportunity you have to create some sort of an idea, some sort of a startup which cater to this new field of fourth industrial revolution. Think about it, because there is no time like now to do a startup, because the employment market is not very robust and nobody would find fault with you if you were to start something new. On the contrary, people will be very supportive from your family, from your teachers, from the government, and everywhere. And if it's a success, of course, it has made your life. If it's not a success, it's no big deal. You can always come back to the employment market. So, 3 suggestions. Number 1, understand how fourth industrial revolution will affect your profession. Number 2, acquire those skills. 3, consider doing something new. Now, I want to mention a third report which I would like you to read. This report came out on 20th of October. It's called The Future of Jobs, and this is from the World Economic Forum. Only came last month, 2 weeks back. And it actually tells, based upon interview with hundreds of chief economic officers, chief executives from around the world, including India, as to what new technologies are they adopting in their organizations, what type of jobs they are creating, and what type of jobs are being eliminated. And there are 20 top jobs which are being created, and 20 jobs which are being eliminated, and 20 top skills which you would need. And I recommend you should read it once again. And you should read, as I said, the Oxford Martin School study. And then you will see something very, very interesting, but also very counterintuitive. Many people who are not familiar with this whole domain of AI, or who is not following the day-to-day developments in the domain of AI, believe that humans are something very unique and we have something which machines will never have, and we are so creative, and creativity will never be never be internalized by machine, and so on and so forth. So it is always the assumption that creativity will remain a human trait and can never be replaced. But unfortunately, what has happened due to deep learning in the last 5 years is that it turns out that creativity is one of the easiest things for machines to learn. And they are doing, you would have read recently that AI was recreating Mozart symphonies. And I know one startup in Kerala who is training the AI algorithm to read Ramayana and write new verses in Ramayana just the way Valmiki was writing. So creativity is a domain which we think can never be replaced, but is being replaced. So the point I'm making is that you should read this report and see what are the new skills which you would need to navigate the new world of the fourth industrial revolution. And I'm not listing them. I have listed them in my presentation, and I can actually share my presentation. But my recommendation is that you actually read this report, because I want you to understand how much of thinking is going on and how the world is looking at it. And it's looking at every country. So just what will happen in Israel, what will happen in Estonia, what will happen in India, UK, US. So the first job for you, therefore, is basically to understand that the game has changed. The world you enter now is the world very different from that you anticipated you were entering 4 years back. And COVID is just a preview to that future. The second point I want you to remember is that you should, if you want to have a career, you should have a mentor. This is absolutely needed in future. A mentor is not a role model. A mentor is not a star in the sky, whom you aspire to be. A mentor is someone who can reach and touch. A mentor is somebody who know you, somebody who have an interest in you, and somebody who has traversed the path which you would like to travel, and therefore is able to give you some guidance. All of you must choose a mentor. A mentor could be somebody from your family, somebody from your university, somebody whom you met at a webinar, somebody whom you found on LinkedIn. My colleague Neeraja would talk more about how to use LinkedIn to leverage your career. But you must have a mentor, and you must reach out to that mentor. You must discuss with that mentor as to what path you would like to move and how to move about in that direction. Absolutely essential. The third thing you should do to navigate the future of work life is to create networks. It has always been like this in the past, that your future essentially depended on your networks. But in the past, one could not create a network. In the past, if you are born to a royal family, then you got all the plum jobs. Then it became more in the Indian context about caste. You are born into a certain caste, you were in that network, you got into better and better positions. Then it became universities. So if you went to Harvard, if you went to Oxford, if you went to IITs, you had instant network, and therefore you entered in a better career path. And a lot of it remains true now as well. But that world is also changing. The world of education is changing so much, as you have seen, that the world of Harvards and Stanfords will not be the world which we will see. The world you will see will be that of Coursera and edX and FutureLearns, where millions of students would be studying AI or resilience or other topics on these online platforms. So while we went to IIT or Harvard or even Government Engineering College Thrissur, you made friends and your network by sitting in the same classroom. That will not be possible in future. And certainly when you get out of your college. So you have to start to create your network in whatever way possible, because it is your network which is going to carry you through into your future. My colleague Neeraja will talk about how LinkedIn can be used to create a network. The bottom line is that in the future, it won't be what you know which will decide your career, it will be whom you know. And that responsibility is now on you. Now that you are graduating next year, and some of you may have already graduated and looking for a job, so there are two possible options. One is that you are able to get a job and then you will be fine. Number two, you are not able to get a job. It is also possible that you are able to get a job, but you have an alternative possibility to go for higher education. And this is the choice which you may have to make. In the past, when I was graduating or in that generation, the recommendation was that you study as much as you can as early as possible so that you can then enter into the career domain. But in the fourth industrial revolution, that is not the recommendation we give. Our recommendation is to enter the employment market as soon as possible. Because as I said, the jobs are changing very dramatically. So if you study after your BTech into your masters and then you enter and PhD and then you enter the job market, The job market may have changed in the meanwhile. So if you have an opportunity to reach the employment market before, our recommendation is to take it. But at the same time, if the employment market is tough, I think it's an excellent idea to go for higher education now, because that will bridge your time while in the meanwhile. You could go into a university in India or abroad, and if there are questions about this during the discussion, I'll be very happy to give additional information on studying abroad. We periodically do sessions on higher education. So those of you who are interested in understanding more about higher education, including in specific countries, please feel free to get connected with me or Neeraja on our LinkedIn profiles, and we will keep you informed. The last 10 days back, we were giving a session on Europe, and we'll be soon giving other sessions on US, Australia, Canada, on higher education as well as employment potential. So the point I was making is that if you do have an opportunity to be connected to a job right now, our recommendation is to take it. Alternatively, if you do have an opportunity to go for higher studies, please go for higher studies, but preferably outside Kerala, and if possible, even outside India. But if none of this is possible, please do not sit idle and sit at home and say, look, things will change and then I will see. No. These are the times. What Corona has taught us is that education need not cost money. One of the best courses in AI basics is on Coursera. It is taken by 500,000 people. 500,000 people. And it costs like nothing. It costs zero to study. If you want a certificate, it costs, I think, $30 or something. But you don't need a certificate. You can still study. If you need a certificate, you can always get it. So, upskill yourself at all times, always. And don't wait for your employer to train you. Anytime you have, continue to upskill. So I don't know if there are third-year students here or only final-year students. When a new technological university came, there was always an idea of an internship in the engineering, but people are taking it for granted. I know many engineering college students who would go to an organization and sometime work for 1 week and get a certificate for a week or a month. And I was told that there are some institutions which even give you an internship certificate for a payment. But that's not what internship is supposed to be. Internship is supposed to be an immersion in a workplace. And that's where you learn how to get used to a working environment as against an educational setup. I want you to take your internship very seriously. If you are third-year student, take it seriously. Spend the time the university is allowing you. My own preference would be that after every semester, you spend a week to a month in an internship. But if you are graduating and if you are not getting an employment, please take an internship. And this is completely common. In the United Nations, for example, we have internships. We'll be opening many internships next week. It's in the past, it was very difficult because you had to travel to Geneva or New York, and UN internships are not paid. But now it's all going to be online, so therefore you could be anywhere and you could apply for those positions. And you get used to the new ways of working in a new cultural context. So take internship seriously. 3 to 6 months internship, but because that's what it will take you to understand the organization to understand you. But when you go for an internship, do not expect the organization to tell you what to do. You think what you will be able to do in an organization. That's the type of organization you should seek out. So if there's a mechanical engineer who is seeking an internship in a big automobile company, then you should think as to what is that I want to learn from there. But the same person could also take an internship in a local cooperative society and see in what way his or her skills could be of use in that organization. So internship should not be there, you go to an organization, the organization give you task. It should be that you think of what you want to do and then use the organization to leverage those tasks. Kerala is where we all studied our engineering. I studied my engineering in Kerala. When I studied, there are 6 engineering colleges. Now there are more than 150. But unfortunately, Kerala society has remained very primitive when it comes to adoption of technology. Of course, we have modern mobile phones, etc. But if you look at the way normal things are working, our roads are built, our houses are built, our trees are cut, our grass is cut. We have remained almost pre-industrial revolution. Some of our houses are built exactly the same way they were built 100 years back. Maybe we use concrete now instead of wood, but in terms of the mechanical labor which goes into, we are not changed last hundreds of years. As engineers, we also have an opportunity to change this. I keep giving this challenge to engineers in Kerala. We have more than 40 lakhs people who are working in what we call Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme in Kerala, Thummarukudy. You should look at those group of women who is going around and what about tools are they using to do the work which they are doing? Are they using the right tools? Can we use engineering to improve their tools and improve their life, improve their productivity? So there are engineering problems all around you. So you don't really have to work on autonomous cars. You can also have problems around you, which you can use as an internship. I will conclude by saying one thing about resilience. I don't know if you know or follow the word resilience. There's no equivalent in Malayalam for that. Resilience is the ability to recover from a failure, from a hit. It's like if you imagine a bamboo and a wind blowing, it bends down, it comes straight up. As students, we are all trained for success. We are not trained for failures. But the new world, success and failure will come in equal measures. In the past, people were not losing jobs. They were getting jobs, but they were not losing jobs. The new world, people will get jobs and they will lose jobs. Things like Corona, they will come and upset all your plans. How do you recover from this? Define you as a person. In the United States, for the fall admission in graduate programs, universities are asking students to tell their Corona resilience. When the Corona came, how did they survive that? How did they spend their time? And I want you to remember today, what is your resilient story during this COVID period? If you have not thought about it, please start to think about it. 1 year later, when you are in front of an employer in an interview, and they will ask you for sure, when the Corona came, how did you navigate it? What did you learn? Did you volunteer? Did you do something for the society? Did you do something to improve your health? It doesn't matter what is your story, but you must have a story. So if you have a story, if you have an understanding of the future which is evolving, if you have a mentor, formulate your network. The future is bright for you. And I wish you all the best. Now, my colleague Neeraja, I have seen her dropping out. If she is in, yes, she's back. So Neeraja, you can continue. And then we'll take questions. Thank you.
Hello.
I think Neerja has some bandwidth issues. So if there are some questions we can take, and then Neerja can speak. Feel free to put in the chat, or the moderator can moderate which your plan. Yeah.
So there is one question from Vishnu M. Sir, can you tell us about your mentor and how you found him and how he helped you? Also, can you tell us how can we sure about the mentor we chose is the right one for us?
Thank you. Incidentally, my mentor has a connection to the Government Engineering College, Thrissur. My son is actually from Guruvayur, and he was a student of civil engineering in Government Engineering College, Thrissur, I think during 1960 to 1965, if I'm not mistaken. Kodamangalam Engineering College. And he was in Nigeria at that time, if I remember correctly, when I entered the college, and he was not teaching us. But when we were in the 6th semester, he came for a holiday back from Nigeria, and he came to the college and gave a lecture on, if I recall, Silent Valley or something. And I was so impressed by what he said, and an engineering approach to environmental issues, that I decided to reach out and talk to him. And he was very kind. And then he left Nigeria, he came back, he was teaching us in the final semester. And then when I did my GATE examination, and I had very high score, and everybody who had high score opted to go for structural engineering, he advised me to go for environmental engineering, and I was fascinated by him. And then he gave me a recommendation letter to go to the IIT Kanpur, where he studied. And then, that linked me up with every other, guiding lights in my career. So yes, it was Professor Lazar John who was my mentor. In terms of choosing the right mentor, as I said, there's no, it's a hit and miss. You use your best skills, best judgment to choose a mentor. But mentor is not for lifetime. If it's not working, of course you can choose somebody else. But it's important that you do have a mentor. Thank you. Neerja, you can try now.
Hi, good morning. I hope, am I audible?
No. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
Okay, thank you. I'm really sorry. I have some power issues here, power failure and all. So I'll start now. Thank you so much for everyone. Okay, I'll talk about social media and employability in this session. So we're all having social media accounts, right? But I am supposed to say something about how social media is going to affect your chances of getting a job, right? Here, there are two types of social media platforms. One is, professional networking platforms like LinkedIn, Meetup, JobKeys, and Udayamitra. And there are other set of casual platforms for non-business interactions. In professional networking platform, it is intended for creating interactions and relationships of business in nature rather than including personal or non-business interactions. So here I'll take LinkedIn as an example. So I suppose many of you have LinkedIn accounts. So people usually ask me, can I get a job if I have a LinkedIn account? So I must say it definitely increase your chance of getting a job, but definitely in future, jobs will seek you through such types of platforms. So even right now, people are getting job, if they have a LinkedIn account, because there are companies, world's best organizations, companies, they have presence in LinkedIn. So if they find your profile, your profile as suitable for their organization, they will definitely seek you. They will definitely approach you. They'll give you offers. So basically, we need to know some sort of basic things, skills you need to create a LinkedIn or a professional networking uh, profile. So why you should take a profile there, create a profile there. So there are in LinkedIn or in any other platforms, there are world's best academicians, researchers, business persons, organizations. They all have presence there. So you can get connected to them. You can start interacting with them. You can seek for their advices, and of course you'll get good connections. So you can share your thoughts, your academic qualifications, your CV, your professional information, you can depict your interested fields, your work experience, your research experience, your skills and all. You can share your original articles. So you can also put referrals from professors and your colleagues. So these things acts as a resume there. So you can connect it to other professionals. So thereby it increase your chance of getting a job. As Dr. Muralee said before, the future is it's an era of artificial intelligence. So uh, artificial intelligence will start job interviews and searching profiles for companies. They'll start shortlisting candidates. So in such a time, definitely creating such a profile in a professional networking platform would increase your chance of getting employed. Before going deep, we should know how to create an ID in any of those professional networking platforms in a professional way. So first of all, you need to create a professional looking email address. It should be active. So if you're actively seeking for job, check your email and messages at least twice a day. Answer them within 24 hours. The email ID should look professional. I have seen email IDs like superman at gmail.com or hotmail at hotmail.com. I really advise to not use such email IDs. It should look professional, and spend some time to write your bio. Avoid spelling or grammar mistakes. Let someone review it if needed. So another thing is you should use a formal looking photo. Should be your photo. Avoid selfies, avoid group photos. Should not use sceneries, flowers, or photos taken in parties using drugs. So avoid such things. Then after starting a profile, after creating a profile, you have to start connecting with people. There are no limitations like we have in Facebook. You can connect to as much as people as you want. Then don't forget to make it inclusive. Add people from other countries as well. So the next thing you can do is engage in posts, write posts. You can share other valuable information. You can comment. You can get engaged in others' posts. Also, there are groups in LinkedIn and other such platforms. So you can find your preferred sector and get engaged there. One thing you should keep in mind is your language. When you communicate there, keep it formal and professional. It is not a place to chat. It is not a chat room, or it is not a dating site. Do not ping others unnecessarily. So you have to after starting connecting people, you can definitely find someone from your preferred field. Maybe it's an academician or a researcher or a business person. You can definitely go for them. You can message them, but keep it in a formal way. Just introduce yourself, say that you're happy to connect with them. Then you can ask for their advices. Do not tell them that you are desperate for a job. You can ask for advices how to get involved in this sector. What are the specifications, or what are the opportunities? Do you have any suggestions? You can always approach them like that, but do not directly ask for a job. If your attitude and if your language is professional, they'll find you as a potential candidate for future. So they'll definitely tell you if there is an opportunity. Okay, then there are other social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. These are all it's not professional networking sites. These are all for, just share your thoughts. It's for fun. Share your ideas, skills, and share posts, share comments like that. So if you are looking for a job or planning for an international travel or currently working abroad, be careful. It is a slightly risky job to share there some sort of contents like extreme views on religion and politics. Sometimes, if you may think that you're using your local language or you're writing in Malayalam. So, as Dr. Muralee mentioned before, this is the time of artificial intelligence. So, it is really easy to translate any of the local languages to English or any other language. So don't think that you can hide your thoughts and your personality with with interacting in a local language or something like that. Then other potential harmful contents are your sexist views. Sometimes you may explicit homophobia, racism. I often see that posts and comments portraying people from other countries negatively on social media. So you should avoid that. Another significant topic is international politics. We all know that there are issues and negotiations between different countries around the world. There are issues between, maybe negotiations between China, US, India, Pakistan, and like that. So we may have our own opinion, strong opinion regarding this, but if you express your biased view on social media regarding any of these issues, it may backfire at some point. If you are looking for a job internationally or currently working in another country. Also, if you are planning for an international travel, beware of it, because, for example, countries like US will ask you, if you apply for their visa, they'll definitely ask you for your social media profile. So we all know that AI can definitely, find out for all our old posts. So then another point is criticizing monarchs, kings, like that. We all know that we are in a democratic environment, so it is not unusual for us to criticize any of the rulers, any of our rulers. But internationally, this is not the case. For example, Thailand, if you criticize their king, their queen, or their legal hair, it is a punishable offense. You may go to jail. So understand one thing, there is no privacy in any of the digital platforms. So your digital footprint will remain forever. So even if you are using a private chat, so if you are seriously searching for a job or serious about your career or actively searching for a job, behave professionally in any of the platforms. So you cannot cover up your unprofessional side with a well-written CV or resume. So this all that I want to convey. I think we can discuss later about this. So if you have anything to say, any comments or any questions, you may ask here. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm sorry that I have some sort of technical issues, power issues, and all. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, if you have any questions, please drop in your chat box. So there is one question from A. Salim, student. He is asking, is there possibility for going for physics major after engineering?
Thank you. Modern educational institutions, what undergraduate study which you did is not that relevant to what higher education which you do. It's more about whether you will be able to navigate into that. I have a friend in Indian Institute of Scientific Education and Research. I serve, this is one of the best science institution in India these days. He mentioned that when they look for PhD candidates, they find that many engineering college students actually perform much better than those from the science streams. So long as the institution have the flexibility, your undergraduate degree is not a problem. In India, I think most likely the IITs have that flexibility. IIT Kanpur certainly had that flexibility even when 25 years back. ISER, I understand, has that flexibility. Internationally, many institutions certainly have that flexibility. So yes, so your undergraduate degree is not a barrier to going for a higher degree. So probably you don't even need to do a master's. You can go directly for a PhD. But as it happens in most modern academic institutions, you will be asked to do a number of bridge courses on physics and mathematics so that you are at par with other students who are entering. Thank you.
Sir, there is a question from Mani Tundil, Principal, MGM College of Engineering and Technology. In order to excel in the core area of engineering, an engineer should have multidisciplinary knowledge. Do you think it's essential to have a syllabus with interdisciplinary courses and practicals?
Thank you, Dr. Mani. Dr. Mani is my good friend. So I thank you for joining this session. Engineering syllabus in many ways is already multidisciplinary. I don't know the current syllabus very well, but when I started engineering, and probably Dr. Mani and myself, we are all contemporaries. So in the very first year, we had physics, chemistry, naturally mathematics, economics, and thereafter we studied geology, management, and mathematics, many courses. So definitely we had an interdisciplinary background. But what we did not have is an interdisciplinary faculty. So we had one professor of economics, maybe 3 professors of mathematics, 1 person from geology, 1 person from chemistry, 1 person from physics. And we took this as some sort of an inconvenience. So we did not understand interdisciplinarity as much as the syllabus, those who created the syllabus thought it to be. And when I went to IIT and when I actually saw, IIT had a full-fledged physics department, a full-fledged chemical department, and even a full-fledged humanities department, I was quite amazed as to how much of a rounded personality you can get if you had a multidisciplinary education, how much your brain opens up, how much your perspective opens up if you had a multidisciplinary surrounding. I spent a lot more time in the humanities department and the chemistry department of IIT Kanpur than in the engineering disciplines. Most of my postgraduate as well as doctoral work was done in the chemistry laboratories than in the engineering laboratory. So number one, yes, is absolutely essential that the engineering remains a multidisciplinary topic. Number two, it's absolutely essential that the other faculties are strengthened. But in the new way, the new world of working, which COVID has forced us into, we really don't need to create a physics department in every engineering college or an economics department in every engineering college. We can now create a cluster of colleges. You can, let's say an engineering college student should be allowed to go to the nearest arts college where the best economic professor is teaching. So if the best economics teacher is in, let's say, Sacred Heart College, Thevara, and the engineering college student actually want to study that topic, of course, most of the study will now happen online. But that he or she should be able to go to Thevara College once every week, sit with his teacher and study more. And then the best mathematics teacher may be in Maharaja's College, and so on. So you no longer need to create a physical structure where every discipline is available. So long as the organization allow it, so long as the credit transfer is possible, and the new education policy make all this lot more realistic, I think it's an excellent idea. The new education policy also propose establishment of massive multidisciplinary education and research universities. Currently our biggest universities, residential universities, have probably 3,000 to 5,000 students, whereas internationally, universities with 50 to 100,000 students in residential campus, with medical school, with agricultural school, with engineering schools, is not unusual. And the new educational policy is proposing it. And I support as much interdisciplinary as it goes. I support it. I just want to say that it's not just engineering. Phenomenal changes are happening in the field of medicine, but our doctors are not at all prepared either. Our doctors are, till very recently they were illiterate from a computer point of view because they were never taught. But the way AI is penetrating medicine is much faster than AI is penetrating engineering. Some AI researchers say training radiographers in 2020 is a waste of time because AI will be able to do the job much better. It's already doing good job, be able to do much better in 5 years. So yes, all profession, engineering, medicine, law, all has to be multidisciplinary, and we should take advantage of the new ways of teaching. Thank you, Dr. Mann.
Next question. The next question is by Dr. Manju MS of HOD Chemical Engineering Department. She's asking, sir, do you have any message for the students who find the online classes monotonous and stressful and tend to lose their focus?
Thank you, Dr. Manju. This is, the whole idea of online class came to Kerala somewhat abruptly during COVID. But the online class itself is not a new idea. It's not a COVID invention. As you know, the first massive open online course, it was not even called a massive open online course at that time, came from Stanford in 2008 when they decided to put a computer science course online, hoping that instead of 50 students in the classroom who will get benefit, maybe another 50 outside will get benefited. But 142,000 students decided to take that course. And that's how the whole online education revolution happened. Now, when classes moved from classroom to online, teachers really didn't understand the new way, the world of teaching. Because teaching online and teaching classroom are not the same thing. But unfortunately, what happened is that partly because people are not trained, partly because teachers were not equipped to do it, in Kerala, suddenly an online class became exactly like an online version of a classroom teaching. And this is not how online teaching is supposed to be. In the online classroom, when we are, we did our first massive open online course in 2015, and it took us 12 months of planning and development, and it cost us $150,000 for one course, because only 10% of that classroom was actually lecture from the teacher. 90% of that was other activities. So some definitely was face-to-face teaching, like what we are doing now. A lot of it was collaborative activities. A lot of their activities which the students were supposed to do and do research at their own time and come back. A lot of it was flipped classroom. that instead of teacher telling the students what they should be learning, teacher was telling what they wanted to discuss next day, and the students went and did the research needed, and they came back and had the discussion. Now, of course, we had to do all this very suddenly in the last 6 months, and there was no other way than going the way we did. But that's not going to be the future. The future is going to be one of an inverted pyramid, where the amount of teaching would be very little. The amount of teacher talking to student would be very little. The maximum work could be done by the students themselves. So we have to create a structure by which students do themselves, students learn from other platforms, students interact with one another, peer group, and then you have the classroom. So that will be the structure of the new teaching. And of course, there will be a lot more simulation and so on and so forth. So we have to see the challenge which we are having currently, that of the lecture being boring for 45 minutes, 1 hour, now almost an hour and a half between me and Neeraja, as just a transient phase of a new education revolution which is sweeping the world, which is making education a lot more globally available and accessible and economical. So take it as a growing pain, so to say. Thank you.
The next question is by student Chanchal Delson. Is it better to go for a university degree for higher studies, or take a specialized certification course for the betterment of our futures?
Thank you. This is where actually your mentor can help you. It really depends on the selected profession you are going to go in. Now, let's take an area called cyber security. Cyber security is one area, tremendous growth in the need of professionals on cyber security. Every sector need, educational institutions would need cyber security specialists. Every educational institution will very soon have one post called cyber security. Every panchayat office will have a cyber security specialist. So that's one area where jobs are going to explode. And you don't need a degree in cyber security, though such degrees are coming. What you need is a basic degree plus a certification. But there are professional bodies, and there are certain certifications which are more valid than others. But you should know which are those certifications. I don't know if you are aware, there's a group of women in Kerala who work in the field of cyber security. And they have created a Facebook page called Kerala Cyber Ladies, with the exclusive aim of mentoring young women into the field of cyber security. And they will tell, and they are helping people to take certification. What certifications are appropriate? How do you register for that? And these people can actually support you to get those certifications. And the same about hardware. You already know about Microsoft programs or Cisco programs. So in certain domains, certificates are a lot more valid. In certain domains, obtaining professional membership, for a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer, getting membership in a professional organization like Association of Mechanical Engineers, etc., is more valuable than the certification itself. And your mentor will be able to help you on this. Thank you.
Sir, next question is from our YouTube live stream. Professor Krishna Kumar, retired professor from GECT Thrissur, is asking, there are doubts among students of circuit branches as to why they should learn engineering, mechanics and graphics. Will the recent challenges and requirements in learning convince them?
Thank you. I think a lot of students in engineering, including myself, was very worried about, not very worried, very confused about why we are doing mathematics and engineering mechanics and also numerous other courses. And now, as you grow into the profession, then you understand. I think engineering mechanics is one of those very fundamental courses which every engineer should learn. I think I would even say engineering drawing and engineering mechanics are the two defining courses for engineers compared to any other course. I think it's not so much the online learning which is going to make that difference, but learning is not only going online, but a lot more will go into simulation. That you will be able to simulate a lot more things in the future. For example, when we were studying engineering mechanics, and when we are saying all the projectiles and all those things, a lot of this you have to do in your imagination, and you always had one, G factor. But in a new simulated world of simulation, what is possible is that you could vary the G. You could say that, okay, if this projectile is in the moon, how will it go? And so then you suddenly have this projectile going at a different range. And this is, I'm not talking about new things. And I have seen this type of classrooms with simulation 10 years back already. But we are not yet tuned to it. So my belief is that, as Dr. Mani said, we'll become a lot more interdisciplinary, we'll become a lot more online, and we'll actually be doing a lot more simulation in the classroom, which will really help us to look at these issues in a lot more different manner. Thank you.
So next question is from Professor Manoj Kumar. Is there a chance that BTech program will get converted to an MBBS style where every student have to learn a common content in future?
Thank you. I had personally proposed this as an idea because there are a lot of this debate about core branch of engineering, and people are going into do civil service and people are going into IT. It's a waste of people's time and so on and so forth. There was a lot of this debate, and I was saying that engineering is a broad foundation, and things like mathematics, things like engineering mechanics, and ultimately what is that define an engineer as against other course? My definition is that an engineer is somebody who is looking for solutions and not for problems. So whatever is a problem given to them, they are looking as a solution-oriented approach. That is defining for engineering, and that can be applied to anything. That can be applied in banking as much as in filmmaking. Now, so if we had a system like medicine, where you do a foundation of engineering, 3 years or 4 years, and onto which you then top civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical, then that would be a better option. This is my view. The question is whether this will happen in practice. My feeling is that it's unlikely to happen in practice because there are professional organizations like, Association of Mechanical Engineering or Charter of Mechanical Engineers, Charter of Civil Engineers, etc., who have strong views on these things and who would continue to choose a undergraduate program in civil engineering or mechanical engineering, etc. in future. So, in my opinion, it's unlikely to happen that way. But if given a choice, that's what I would do. Thank you.
Sir, next question is from Dhyan Jayaraman. Is the possibility of employment wider in tagged universities than normal universities in higher studies?
I couldn't get.
Is there any possibility of employment wider in tagged universities? Tagged universities than normal universities.
I probably don't understand the terminology called tagged universities. So
that is a question from Dhyan Jayaraman.
So if somebody can explain what, probably they say recent terminology, it's something which is in India specific thing, I don't know. If someone can explain,
if you could explain, you just chat. Next question is from Anandu P. Sir, going forth with PhD without a master's can give us a good research platform, especially in current situation. Can going with PhD without a master's give us a good research platform, especially in current situation?
I think, if you want to go for a PhD, then master's is not so much a requirement. Master's is more like it just gives you a taste of research, and then you have an option to continue to do your PhD or continue into a job. So master's is more like a bridging course, and frankly, there are not many jobs where a master's only is required. For practical reason, in many parts of the world, if you had a master's, you could enter into a teaching job market. But in the other parts of the employment market, a master's was not really so much of a valued item, and in many cases, the average starting salary of a master's student was lower than the average starting salary of an undergraduate student. So if you already know that you want to go for a PhD, then it's really not needed for you to do a master's degree. And it may take, and depending upon the university which you apply, that you will have to do a few courses, maybe 4, maybe 8 courses before you actually do your research work. But I do not consider doing a master's is a precondition to doing a PhD. Thank you.
So next question is from Professor Tajuddin. Why can't we think about interdisciplinary clusters in engineering colleges where we can utilize the available multiple departments in the colleges?
Dr. Tajuddin and also asked an earlier question about people also migrating into information technology at some point, and now to data science and AI. I agree with his observations that there is a wave of fashion coming in from time to time. So you had the wave of nanotechnology coming in, and then biotechnology and information technology, cyber forensic. You have all this fashionable thing coming, and then universities suddenly offer or colleges suddenly offer these courses, and there are not enough faculty, no syllabus, no textbooks, and then students get into difficulty in future. And I'm certainly not recommending these things. As much as I am saying AI would define your career, I'm not saying that you go and start to do a master's course in AI. You should do a link course on AI, and be it a certification or online course or from a good university. Regarding this interdisciplinary thing, I agree with you, sir. The more interdisciplinary, and I keep giving this example. In Kerala, in our universities, our degree program, be it engineering, be it arts college, it's like a Kerala Sadhya. You go into a typical Kerala Sadhya. So you have the banana leaf, and they have put uppu, avial, upperi, whatever curry on the place. Then you get big bowl of rice. Let's say that's your major, and then you get your sambar and other thing in a certain sequence. And all this sequence, all these curries and all their locations are all predetermined. And we take almost pride in it, that upperi is always on this corner and kuttukari is in that corner and so on. And this is what our degree is like. When I was doing engineering, I think we had 51 courses to be 51 separate modules, 49 courses, and then 1 project and 1 seminar. This is what I remember. Probably the same even now. And of which we had 2 choices. We had 1 elective in the 7th semester, 1 elective in the 8th semester. So we, of the 51 dishes on my banana leaf, I could opt, instead of, padam pradhaman, I could opt for palad or something. That's as much choice I had. Rest, eat it. It's almost like the innocent scene, you are supposed to eat it in that movie. But that's not how education should be. Education should be more like a buffet arrangement. That you are the, you have your plate. That's your platform. You go and pick what you want. In a sense, the teachers can guide you. That if you want to go in this direction, maybe you should go in this way. Maybe if you want to go in this direction, maybe you should go this way. So even if you are not given 100% freedom, at least you should be given 40% freedom of the courses which you take. So you have one set of starters, one set of main course, and some sort of desserts, and you should have flexibility within it. And in the new world, it's so easy to give that. So within the college itself, students can be given flexibility. Somebody who's doing civil engineering should be able to go and spend more courses in mechanical engineering, and vice versa. And as I said, somebody who is doing mechanical engineering in your college should be able to go to John Mathai Center, Calicut University's best economic centers in Thrissur. You should be able to go and take a course there. Some of the finest economists in Kerala are in Thrissur. Take there, get a degree, and the credit you get in the Kerala University and the Kerala Technological University should be portable, so that if you add so many credit, you should be able to get your degree. And these are not, this is not rocket science. The Bologna process, where every European university is interlinked to one another, not even in one state, not even in one country, 46 countries in European Union. You can start your degree in economics from Switzerland, and you can go to Spain and continue and study art, and then can still combine those credit. We should be able to do that in Kerala at least. I think that is where the future should be. Thank you.
Sir, next question is asked by Karthik Menon. Sir, if one is interested to go for higher studies, which is not directly linked with his or her undergraduate course, is it better to take up that course immediately or after a few years of job experience? A similar question is asked by one of the EC students. Is it better to go for higher studies while waiting for the job market to recover?
The second question is very easy. So if you are waiting for a job, going for a master program is what we call a no-brainer, because you have nothing to lose in opting for that choice. So please go for higher studies. If you have a choice between a job and a higher studies, choose a job now, because in the new world, you will have to do multiple jobs in your lifetime. So getting into the job market as soon as possible is the right solution. Studies can be done later. But the first question was slightly different. It was about if you want to do a study in a different domain, should we work in that? This is a little bit more specific question, so I'm not able to answer that. For example, you did mechanical engineering and then you want to study film making. And if the question is that, okay, should I go to Pune to do filmmaking? Should I work as a mechanical engineer and then go to filmmaking? Or should I go into a film as an assistant director and then go to Pune? So let's say if these are the three options, then my answer would be definitely go for an internship, volunteership in the film industry, and really decide, do you want to invest 2 years of your time to study filmmaking in Pune, or is your feeling for filmmaking just a passion? And after 3 weeks in a film set, you say, this is not the life I want to, so that you can get back to your core. So it's a little bit of a specific question. So it has to be handled with a mentor in a very local way. Thank you.
Sir, next question is from Sujit Kumar. Sir, what about the syllabus that follows in engineering, even for a while years, without any change as according with such a scenario?
Thank you. I think this was a good, excuse for us till now, till the COVID time, that we had a restrictive syllabus, and this is what But now it's an open world. You could go into Google and you can study anything. You can go in any domain. So take whatever you get in the university as a foundation. Take the university as your first network. So the students we are studying with, all the seniors, all the teachers, they are your network. That's where you demonstrate your leadership skills. That's where you develop your social skills. But your own qualification, you build on the foundation, hooking to wherever you want to hook. You go to Coursera, you go to edX, you go to Cisco, you go to cybersecurity specialty, whatever is the domain you want. There are now opportunities to add those things own your foundation. So we no longer have to depend on the university syllabus. Of course, it would be ideal if the universities change their syllabus often and etc. etc. But we just have to be realistic, and we don't control it. So as much as we can encourage the teachers and the university system to change their syllabus, we can decide our own future now. And the new world has made it so easy.
So one last question. I think time is up. From Muhammad Aslam. Sir, how to apply for jobs in UN? Is India still in Young Professionals Program?
Thank you. The Young Professional Program in the UN is open to the entire world, but the number of countries they can apply, the list of countries vary from year to year. So it is not that Indians are not allowed or allowed. They may be allowed this year, they may not be allowed next year, and so on. So you have to watch out every time the advertisement comes up and say, this year are we allowed? But Young Professional Program is just one of the many options of getting employed in the UN. You have the opportunity of lateral entry at almost any level. You can go from P2, which is what a young professional will go, into the Secretary General, of course, who is also coming from outside. So at any level, P2, P3, P5, D1, ASG, DS, GSG, any level, it's possible to enter lateral. So you gain 5 years of experience, you apply for a P3. You gain 7 years of experience, you get into a P4. And UN is not one organization. UN is probably about 60 different organizations. So you have the UN, which you see in New York, what we call Secretariat. You have UNDP, again based in New York. You have UNESCO based in Paris. We have UNEP based in Nairobi. We have WHO based in Geneva. And there are many other, as I said. We have the UN University in Tokyo. Now, many of these organizations also have their national offices. For example, World Health Organization is there in almost every country in the world. UN Development Program is in 170 countries with 193 member states. UNEP, we are in, I think, 35 different countries. So you can apply to each of the 60, each of the 193 countries, depending upon your domain. And UN would need, UN is a big organization, would need everyone from a security guard to neuroscientist. So the range of qualification which we need is also very broad. The key is not so much to try for working in the UN. I think that could be very restrictive. The key is to aspire to do the type of work which UN is doing, which is to help people in their hour of need wherever they are. And that is not easy because you have to sacrifice your own personal comfort, your time, your freedom, etc., so that you can deploy to wherever a situation arises at short notice. For example, right now, a situation is emerging in Ethiopia, and I'm sitting very comfortably wherever I am. And I'm waiting any given moment of time, my phone to ring and say, be available to travel to Ethiopia now. There is a hurricane going on in the Atlantic, and my colleague is traveling tomorrow. She has, her young family, short notice. So to aspire to work in that, then you have to look into your family situation. Are you willing to travel? Are you willing to travel to Afghanistan? Are you willing to travel to these difficult places? Once you have made up this mind, then look into this ecosystem of organization which work in this area. So it's not just the UN, it is also the Red Cross, it's also the Plan International, it's also the Action Aid. So a lot of hundreds of organizations. And also don't think you will only help people in Africa or in Antarctica, or in Afghanistan. You can also help people in your neighborhood because ultimately it's about helping other people. So once you make up your mind, you're willing to make those sacrifices, work in those organizations in the domain, then getting into UN is a lot more easier. So take it that way. Take it as a long journey where UN is one of the possible destinations of many of helping humanity. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir and ma'am. I think there is no more question, and we are ahead of the planned time. So thank you, sir and ma'am, for sparing your time for GC Thrissur. Now I would like to invite Professor Manoj Kumar, sir, TEQIP coordinator, for the concluding remarks. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Prasida. So, for having listened to this program for the past 1.5 hours or so, I think we have been introduced to a topic by Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy on graduating during the corona times. And as we all understand, it's really a very relevant topic as far as the student community is concerned. So, I think the time that we have engaged during the past 1.5 hours or so has been really fruitful for the student community as well as for the teaching faculty also who have been part of this program. Because as a student, engineering student, maybe we will appreciate the pearls of advice that have been given by you as to how to proceed in this turbulent time that corona has brought in. The complexity that engineering education is now going through, plus the, what do we say, the confusion that corona has added in, is creating a very complex world. And for survival in the future, students need to learn more of skills, which I hope many advices which you have given will help them to graduate better to a better career in future. So thank you, Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy, sir, for having spent your valuable time with us during the past 1.5 hours or so, and having given a very nice talk studded with lots of valuable opinion which will help our students. Also, thanks to Ms. Neeraja Janaki, having talked about the social media and employability aspects, wherein the talk was concentrated on the two types of professional sites as well as personal sites which students can create and make their presence felt in the job market, especially in a virtual environment, which is very effective these days. So unlike we students, the students of present generation who are born natives as far as this technology is concerned are very much well versed with this technology, and they should be utilizing this aspect of improving their career. So thanks to Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy and Ms. Neeraja Janaki on behalf of the institution as well as on behalf of all the participants who have really benefited from this last 1.5 hours of interaction. Thanks also to all the participants who have attended this talk. I think they have taken a lot of such a great piece of advice and great piece of knowledge which we feel was missing after having listened to this talk. Also, thanks to all the organizers behind this particular program. When we chose AirMeet, we had a lot of apprehensions as to whether we would be able to do it successfully or not. But it has been done with the efforts of Professor Ajay James and Professor Rahmatullah of Computer Science and Engineering Department, who have taken pains to see that this event has gone on well. So thanks once again to all of you for the participation and all your patience in listening. As Dr. Thummarukudy was saying, that an online class which is going for more than 1.5 hours, etc., is likely to be boring. But on the opposite, this has been very interesting and very valuable. Thanks once again for all of the participants, speakers, and all persons who have been part of this program. Thank you. Thank you. And handing over to Professor Prasida.
Thank you, sir. I think we have to fill a feedback form that is shared by Ms. Nirja Janagi. So participants, please fill that form. It is shared in the chat box.
Okay.
എങ്ങനെയാ എൻ്റെ ചെയ്യുന്നത്?
Shall we close?
Once again, you can conclude.
Sir, കേട്ടില്ല.
അല്ലേ എന്ന് പറയായിരുന്നു.
അതെ സർ. താങ്ക് യു സർ. താങ്ക് യു മാം.